What you need to know about slapped cheek syndrome. One of the cutest things about babies is their rosy red cheeks. However, did you know that it could be a sign of slapped cheek syndrome? If you never heard of it, don't worry, you're not alone. The majority of new parents have no idea what slapped cheek syndrome is, or that it even existed. If your baby's cheeks have suddenly become redder than usual, it could be an indicator of the condition. So what is slapped cheek syndrome, and is it something you need to worry about? In this video, you'll discover everything you need to know. Otherwise referred to as fifth disease, slapped cheek syndrome is an airborne virus. It causes a noticeable red rash on the cheeks and is spread via coughing and sneezing. The virus responsible for the condition is known as the parvovirus B19, and it's very common in children, though it can occur at any age. The good news is, in most cases, it is a mild infection that is fairly easy to treat. So while it may look pretty nasty, it isn't usually something you need to worry about too much. It is worth visiting a doctor to have the condition diagnosed, but it typically tends to clear up by itself over the course of 1 to 3 weeks. Another piece of good news. Once you've had the virus once, your body is usually immune to it for the rest of your life, so if your baby does develop it, they are highly unlikely to ever have it again. While the condition is characterized by a bright red rash on the cheeks, there are some other symptoms to look out for. The bad news is, symptoms only present themselves after your little one has become infected, so there's no real way of preventing it. You can expect to see symptoms from 4 to 14 days after the infection has taken hold, though in some cases, they don't occur for up to 21 days afterwards. The main symptoms of slapped cheek syndrome include sore throat and runny nose, a fever around 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 degrees Celsius, an upset tummy, and a headache. Of course, your little one can't tell you how they are feeling, so you'll largely notice that they are more agitated and upset than usual. You may find it harder to soothe them, and they may not want to feed as often as usual too. However, you need to be aware that some babies don't develop any of these symptoms. In fact, besides the rash on their cheeks, they may feel absolutely fine. The rash is actually one of the last symptoms to show up. It also occurs in 3 different stages. The first stage is when the bright red rash will appear over their cheeks. It will fade a little in 2 to 4 days. Within 4 days later, the second stage will begin, where the rash appears more of a light pink. It will be slightly raised, and it does tend to turn itchy at this point. It can also spread to other parts of the body. Finally, the third stage is where the rash disappears, only to reappear over the course of 2 to 3 weeks. It's worth noting that not all babies will develop the third stage. In many cases, the rash will disappear for good after the second stage comes to an end. So should you take your baby to the doctor? As mentioned earlier, it is worth consulting a doctor, even though the virus does tend to clear up by itself. As many of the symptoms besides the cheek rash are common with other illnesses, it's worth seeking a proper diagnosis so you can be sure you're dealing with slapped cheek syndrome and not something more serious. Not only is it good to have a proper diagnosis, but the doctor will also be able to give you advice and answer any questions you might have. Also, out of all the symptoms of slapped cheek syndrome, the fever is the one to watch out for. You'll need to go to the doctor if your little one is under 3 months of age and has a temperature of 100 degrees Fahrenheit or about 38 degrees Celsius or higher. For babies under 6 months of age, the same advice applies if the temperature reaches 102 degrees Fahrenheit or about 39 degrees Celsius. Important note, while slapped cheek syndrome is rarely dangerous, it can cause serious problems if your baby suffers with sickle cell disease. This is because they have lower levels of red blood cells, and slapped cheek syndrome can actually worsen the condition. Is slapped cheek syndrome contagious? Slapped cheek syndrome is actually contagious, so it is possible you can catch it from your baby. However, as mentioned earlier, the body is immune once it has been exposed to the virus once. So if you've already had it at some point, you won't catch it again. You'll know if you've caught it because you'll typically experience joint pain and stiffness. It particularly affects the feet, hands, ankles, and knees. These symptoms can recur several months afterwards. You can also develop the same rash and flu symptoms, but in some cases, no symptoms are present at all, so it's possible you can have it and not even realize it. So the condition is known to largely clear up by itself, but is there anything you can do to ease the symptoms until that happens? Ensuring your little one gets plenty of rest is the first thing you can do. This gives their tiny bodies a chance to recover faster. It's also a good idea to encourage them to feed a little more frequently. This can really help bring down their fever and ensure they stay well hydrated. Infant Tylenol can also be good to treat a fever, but you should seek advice from your doctor before trying this. They will also be able to advise you on the right dosage to give your little one. Can it be prevented? Unfortunately, slap cheek syndrome is incredibly difficult to prevent. That's because the infection is at its most contagious before you realize you even have it. Long before the symptoms really start, it is already being passed on. The only way you might be able to stop it is by ensuring everyone within the house washes their hands often. However, this is unlikely to make much of a difference to your infant's chances of catching it. Overall, slap cheek syndrome can look pretty terrifying, but it's actually really harmless. At worst, your baby will feel some discomfort, but as talked about earlier, the symptoms can be managed. Have you ever had a baby with slap cheek syndrome? How did you work through it? If you have a story to tell, we'd love to hear it via the comment form below. That's all for this video. If you found this video helpful, we'd really appreciate it if you'd share this video with someone else who you think would benefit from knowing this information, as well as hopping on over to our website and signing up for our email newsletter by clicking the link in the description. By signing up, you'll not only be the first to hear about our new releases, but you also get exclusive goodies that are only given to our email subscribers. Finally, the next time you're looking to buy baby products, I encourage you to take a look at what we have available. Let me tell you, we aren't just out to make a profit, and pride ourselves on our high-quality products and excellent service. All Starlight Baby products are laboratory tested to ensure they are 100% safe for you and your baby, which unfortunately isn't something every company can say. On top of that, we donate 10% of our profits to children's charities and hope to increase this percentage as Starlight Baby continues to grow. Therefore, your support goes a long way to helping a lot of people. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and here's to making a positive difference in the lives of our children and the world as a whole.